Hello, 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 cheers Kevin here, and welcome to Rimworld out on the sea ice. I keep saying ice sheet, but the ice sheet has mountains and stuff. We are on the sea ice, flat, barren, and unbelievably cold, where we join Burke, the intrepid mechanitor, as she builds out a comfortable home. And we're actually going to kick things off with some unusual behavior, at least for us. We're going to attempt to rescue someone. I do think we're at the point where we could sustain another person, and the lack of options that we have if Burke goes down means we ought to keep our minds open. Porter here is extremely artistic, and making sculptures is a way to bring in money here, so it's worth giving it a try. Even if he doesn't decide to stick around, we can practice our medical skill and maybe start to work on our faction reputation. And while Porter is healing up, we get our first raid pretty much right away. The Googapop clan has arrived, and it's interesting that these folks are the ones who consistently show up with guns, given they have lower manipulation scores, but hey, I won't complain about that. Unfortunately, our Agrahand is going to be out of commission for this fight. I don't know whether it's intended behavior or not, but if you hit 0% battery by accident, you can't get these bots to recharge at a charging station. They have to trickle charge up to like 15 or 20 or something. Frustrating, but oh well. 3 guns is a lot, so we've got our whole crew lined up here. We'll have a Minotaur and a melee mech at each door, such as they are, and we can see that our outer wall is still a liability, as it provides the enemies with cover, but all the same, I'm feeling good about our chances on this one. And there we go. Nice and easy way to start things off. We get a big shipment of fungus, which can go into the nutrient paste dispenser or get refined into fuel, but one of the reasons I especially love these events is for all of the steel slag we get. That is a very decent haul. And unfortunately, we get a notification that Porter has died. The kid did manage to heal up and fully recover, but with the outside temperature being negative 80 degrees, he just wasn't able to get off the map before succumbing to hypothermia. Not really much we could have done to help with that, as he wasn't our colonist, and thus wouldn't take clothes even if we offered. Still, a bummer though. Speaking of clothing though, tattered apparel is a consistent problem for us out here, so our next addition is going to be a tailoring bench. We still don't have a muffalo, although technically Megasloth wool would be better. We're gonna need to be selective about what clothing we do make, but we can grow cotton to help with some of the issue at least. There's another rescue opportunity, this time an enemy, and I'm a little tempted with the shooting and the melee and the undergrounder trait, but then I realize that we don't have a separate prison, and you can't have a prison bed and a regular bed in the same room, so at least for now, any new potential colonists will not be enemy recruits. Another raid, this time the Kodabi clan. We do suffer a bit of damage this time around, as Torg dies and some other mechs take damage, but we do know that death is only a temporary setback, and this enclosure at least seems to be an improvement over the kiting tactics we had to resort to in previous episodes. Up next, we have a colonist freely join. Scalp is here and ready to participate. Unfortunately, she doesn't really have much that we're looking for, and being a waster, she does have a psych height dependency that would need to be filled. I don't really love that idea, so Scalp is heading north to guard the northern border for a while. Our tailoring bench is completed. All we need now is the muffalo. I do suspect that may require us to caravan, unfortunately, and that will require multiple colonists, so we've got someone to stay home and protect the base. And another raid is here. This time, Googapop is headed straight for our supplies, which means we need to engage them early rather than keep safe behind our walls. They're equipped exclusively with grenades and Molotov cocktails, another reason to engage them out here, so let's see how this goes. The Agrahand is actually the best melee combatant we've got here, as I'm sure anyone who's fought a riding lawnmower can attest to. There's not much time for us to recover as we get another raid. This time the trash rig is here, and unfortunately there are 3 separate groups of them we'll need to fend off. It looks like one of them is off on their own, so I head out there and try to dispatch that group early. Unfortunately, that was a poor call. We're near enough to the second group that Burke actually does get shot, so we're gonna be starting things off from an injured position. And it does seem like they're all going to attack at once. We've got a battle to fight in the east, and I'm just gonna have to let Sisyphus stall them in the west until we have combatants to spare. We really don't want to lose our wind turbines or storage. Unfortunately, Sisyphus is not able to do much on their own, but there's nothing we can do. We're pinned down over here and just have to let the fight come to us. It briefly looks like we've managed to drive them off, but Burke is downed and starts bleeding out. There's nothing we can do now. No control over the mechs, though the Minotaurs should still automatically fight. All we can do now is see how this plays out. As the raiders set fire to our storage, Burke somehow manages to get up, which is incredible as she was bleeding out. We can't afford to risk any more damage, so as much as I'd love to put out some flames, Burke is going to need to tend to her wounds and hope that's just the end of this raid. Something explodes now, and I suspect it was the grenades from the previous raid. In any case, it's enough to take out a Minotaur. I'm just relieved that Burke wasn't right over there. There's nothing for us really to do here but sleep and hope that tomorrow's a little bit better. Alas, a better morning does not arrive. We get a solar flare, which, just figures. Thanks, Randy. But, okay, we have survived, perhaps barely, though we've lost quite a bit. I think the next thing we want to invest in is a trap hallway. We want to make sure there's a path into our base so raiders who are attacking immediately don't decide to go for other targets and force us to have these wild firefights that put us on the back foot. If we take a look at our colony wealth, we can see it has gone down, but hasn't gone down too much, and if we keep up this kind of performance, we're going to eventually be overrun. Doing some investigation around raid difficulty, there are a few different factors. The big one is colony wealth, and that does include everything on the map, meaning we want to be burning corpses and not just waiting for things to decay. But combat mechanoids also add to our combat power, so the Minotaurs are kind of penalizing us in two separate ways. It might make sense for us to keep them down for now until we've built out our defenses. Burke did, however, begin the process of reviving Sisyphus as we have a standing work order, so we should have our friend back in no time. And our first raid since the incident is a lot weaker, thankfully. We've got 2 melee combatants who we're able to take out without much fuss. And we're out mining components for a little bit when we get the alert for another raid, this time some bows and arrows. Burke does get hit here, and when she retreats they make for our wind turbine, just yet again reinforcing the fact that we need to wall in our full base. That raid is barely over when we get another one. It feels like Randy is really trying to take advantage of the warmer weather. I do realize that I've actually done something stupid. Our raider tunnel blocks the nearest wind turbine, so we're going to need to make some modifications. We get yet another raid, and this one, alas, manages to take out our wind turbine altogether. We are just hemorrhaging resources here. If we take a look at our wealth again, we see that it has crept back up really quickly. All the material on the ground is usable, and it is very dangerous for us. Our next event is a herd of man-hunting cats, which actually is a bit of a blessing in disguise, as it should mean we've got a few days where, as long as we stay indoors, we've got a feline defense force against any more raiders. Annoyingly, a trade ship passes by, but we can't offload much, as there's very little that's actually in reach of our comms beacon right now. But a little while later, once the cats have left for greener pastures, we get a bulk goods trader and can do the storage dance for a while to convert all this unusable wealth into better defenses. We are going to invest some steel into a mini turret. Hopefully that'll help us out at least a little bit. And this is a very amusing meteorite. Limestone attracts limestone, I guess. And as our next raid begins, we've made decent progress on at least walling off the turbines and such, so let's see how this one goes. I'd call that an improvement at least, and the turret gets to see some use. Next up, a Wanderer joins, and this one is interesting. Henry is a melee fighter who's skilled at mining plants and animals, has the Undergrounder trait, and is incapable of intellectual. At this point, given the raids we've just suffered through, I'm willing to accept just about anyone who's not an addict or a pyromaniac, so welcome to Henry. Almost immediately, we get the notification about a minor break risk, which is not unexpected thanks to the cold, but hey, Henry, you joined us. Burke is more interested in completing some bulk trades for now. Now that we have a proper miner, though, we can start harvesting these meteorites. If we go back to the first or second episode, we discovered that Burke's skill is just too low to get any real yield, and the mechanoid that's capable of mining is a long way away from where we're at right now. We get a Psychic Soothe, but if we look at Henry's mood, he has a lot of complaints. First off, he's not part of our ideology, so he hates the nutrient paste. He also doesn't like sleeping on the ground, is annoyed by being outside, wants a bed, is in some minor pain from a scar. He's got a laundry list of complaints. Disturbed sleep is one that Burke is going to complain about too, since everyone is sharing a room, and those are at risk of building up. So I think we're going to move our tailoring bench and laboratory outside, which will absolutely cause a work speed penalty, but I think we can at least squeeze in a little room here. We'll eventually want to create bedrooms for both of them, but I have something else in mind for now. This room is going to be pretty unpleasant, but it won't require too many resources. We just have to wait for a bit of wood to grow, and we'll use a vent to make sure the main room heaters can keep it warm. At this point, we get an extremely fortuitous quest. The Exodus Empire would like us to send a colonist to go help them out for 9 days, and since Henry's mood is poor and we're waiting on resources, I think him skipping town is perhaps an ideal thing for everyone. This time, I think we actually will accept some honor. I don't want Burke to rank so highly that she refuses work tasks, but unlocking psychic abilities would be fantastic, so it's a win-win-win. And I really probably should have had Henry working on this earlier, but we need some more components. Things keep breaking down, so Burke is out here mining. Now that we're safely into winter though, things are mercifully quieting down a bit on the sea ice. We do some modest trading, and if we take a look at our wealth, we've managed to keep it reasonably low. A lot of that is down to staying on top of corpse hauling and trading away as much material as we can as early as we can. And time truly does fly because Henry is back on the scene, and I think it's time to give him the warm welcome he truly deserves as Burke escorts him to his brand new prison cell. Now, the main reason we want to do this is because you can try to convert prisoners from their ideology a couple of times a day. And after enough effort, we can release Henry and he'll be perfectly content with the nutrient-paced meals. I'd like to try and get this out of the way now while it's still cold, before we have to deal with any more... Oh, for crying out loud, the Googapop clan is raiding us, and their leader is here. It's only 3 of them, so it's possible we'll be able to... Okay, a second raid is happening right now too. Although since they enter the same side of the map... Yes, they are going after each other. This is fantastic. It looks like the Wenbu tribe does not survive, but didn't really manage to weaken the Googapops, so we're gonna see what we can do here. So the leader has a smoke pack on, which means he and his companion can't be targeted by the mini turret anymore. That is an unfortunate advantage. And they do manage to get a hit on our turret, which destroys the wall to our farm, and I am kicking myself right now. they're going to go in here and start lighting fires, because that's just what they do. Burke is hit with a gunshot in the arm, so things are not going well, and I think the only thing we can do is release Henry to come help out. At this point, we need all the firepower we can get. With Henry's help, it does seem we're able to turn the tide, and we do chase after their leader, but without much success. In retrospect, it may have been wiser to stay back and focus on the fire, but hey, hindsight is 20/20. Really, right now, we need to focus on what is most important, rearresting Henry. And before we can even close up our walls, Googa Pop is back for revenge. Alright, fine, it's not like we're busy or anything. And at last, Henry has been converted to our creed of Ideology. Now he will suffer a mood penalty for a while from being imprisoned, but that mood debuff will only be temporary. And it looks like Henry has completely gotten over it. Burke and Henry have decided to become lovers. So congratulations to them, and congratulations to us all. Now they don't need separate rooms, and we should be able to get a reliably good mood buff for both of them. Now it's time for us to finally face a raid as a colony, and this one goes nice and smooth. I was hoping we might be able to snag some of this raider's clothing, but no such luck. Another weather quest is on offer. I love me some rainy thunderstorms for keeping the wind farm hyped up. Okay, so we were fighting some rabid foxes, and unfortunately it seems that Henry has managed to lose a pinky, so that's just great. We've managed to craft a double bed for the new couple, but it looks like our ideology doesn't permit couples to share a bed outside of marriage. Good thing we held off on religious reform. On the sea ice, huddling together for warmth is mandatory now. So I was going back and forth on what exactly to build next, and ultimately I decided to opt for a biosculptor pod. This can do age reversal and some healing, but critically, it can also restore small missing body parts. It does attune to the user and takes a long time to unattune, but this can repair both Henry's scar and his missing finger, as well as eventually Burke's scar, thus eliminating their pain debuffs. Henry's shooting is 0, by the way, so we're letting him get in some target practice with these manhunting guinea pigs. A ton of visitors have dropped by, but notably we finally have enough wood to craft the stone cutting table, and that means all of these meteorites have instantly been transformed into building material. To wit, we finally managed to complete the perimeter of our base, which is just an enormous relief. More than that, we're going to build a disposal room for our toxic waste. We will eventually need a longer-term strategy here, but this buys us a lot. And with our biosculptor pod ready to go, Henry's going to go hang out for a while. It's going to take 12.5 days, so Burke's going to be on her own again, but the hope is that Henry can come out with yet one fewer mood debuff. I hadn't really noticed, but we did run a little behind on fuel. We are, of course, consuming a bit more now that we have 2 colonists, so that's something I'll need to keep an eye on as we go forward. You may also have noticed that I've marked out a spot for a ground-penetrating scanner. My understanding is that these do still in fact work on the sea ice. We won't get any stone chunks this way, but we still can deep drill for steel. That could potentially unlock a lot for us, as up until now, steel has been the true bottleneck. But I do think this is a reasonable place for us to end things today. I really appreciate your patience, as I know this episode is a week later than it otherwise would be. I did run into a few issues around managing footage, but I think all is well now. Let me know down in the comments how you're feeling about the series. I will say that while the raids have been intense, there's been a lot of nothingness that has to get cut out on these sea ice episodes, but perhaps the addition of our new colonist will change things a little bit in that respect. In any case, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers!